For over 100 years, no army could stand against the phalanx. Engineered by Philip II, it conquered the known world under Alexander. An impenetrable forest of 18-foot Sarissa pikes presented pure military terror. Charging a Macedonian phalanx head-on meant guaranteed death for any soldier. Yet on a misty ridge in Greece, a different military titan arrived. In 197 BC, Rome challenged Macedon at Cynoscephalae. Roman consul Titus Flamininus marched against King Philip V. It was the ultimate clash between two opposing ancient warfare doctrines, the inflexible pike wall against the modular Roman manipular legion. Within 2 short hours, the invincible phalanx was systematically dismantled. 8,000 Macedonian phalangites fell on the blood-soaked hills. 5,000 were captured, and Philip fled the battle in total defeat. This single battle marked the end of Hellenistic supremacy in Europe. It proved that flexibility and individual initiative trump rigid brute force. Here is how Rome destroyed the greatest weapon of ancient history. To understand Cynoscephalae, one must analyze the phalanx design. Phalangites formed massive blocks, 16 ranks deep, standing shoulder to shoulder. Each soldier carried the formidable Sarissa pike, 18 feet in length. Crafted from tough cornel wood, the spear weighed over 14 pounds. The first 5 ranks held their sarissas horizontally towards the enemy. This created an impenetrable hedge of steel spearheads protruding forward. The rear 11 ranks held their pikes upright at a steep angle. This dense vertical canopy deflected incoming arrows, stones, and javelins. Frontline phalangites wore bronze helmets, greaves, and lightweight cuirasses. They carried a small, round shield strapped directly to their shoulder. This freed both hands to wield the heavy 2-handed Sarissa spear. When a phalanx marched forward, the ground shook under their boots. Enemy cavalry refused to charge into the wall of iron points. Infantry shields were shattered before soldiers could reach sword distance. For 6 generations, Hellenistic kings considered this formation completely invincible. From Egypt to Persia, no empire had breached a frontal phalanx. Yet, despite its terrifying power, the phalanx possessed a fatal flaw. It was a rigid, monolithic machine that required flat, even ground. If the terrain became rocky, small gaps inevitably opened between ranks. If an enemy breached those gaps, phalangites were virtually defenseless. Their secondary weapon was a short knife, useless against heavy armor. Turning an 18-foot spear to face a flank required vast space. In a dense formation, phalangites could only fight straight ahead. If attacked from the side or rear, panic spread rapidly. Philip V inherited this ancient legacy with unshakable confidence. He believed his Macedonian phalangites could sweep any Roman army away. He did not realize that Rome had perfected a lethal counterweapon, an army designed specifically for rugged terrain and fluid battlefields. The stage was set for a monumental tactical collision in Greece. Heavy morning mists settled over the hills on the day of battle. Philip ordered his vanguard forward into the misty mountain trails. Flamininus advanced his scouts along the southern slopes of Cynoscephalae. Both armies drew closer without realizing the proximity of the enemy. The Dog's Head's hills would become the graveyard of an empire. The clash of empires was now inevitable. While Macedon refined the phalanx, Rome forged the manipular legion. Born from bitter mountain wars against Samnites, the legion embraced flexibility. Instead of one solid block, Rome divided armies into mobile manipoles. Each manipole operated like a semi-independent tactical building block. The legion deployed in a 3-line checkerboard pattern called quincunx. Young hastati formed the aggressive first line of heavy infantry. Battle-tested princepes formed the secondary line to reinforce breaking points. Veteran triarii held the third line, armed with heavy thrusting spears. Instead of pikes, Roman legionaries carried 2 heavy pilum javelins. Hurled from 20 yards, the pilum bent upon impact into shields. This forced defenders to discard their heavy, weighed-down shields. For close-quarters combat, Romans relied on the deadly Iberian gladius. This short, broad, 2-edged sword was designed for lethal thrusting. A 2-inch stab from a gladius into the abdomen was fatal. Legionaries protected themselves with the large rectangular scutum shield. Made of layered wood and leather, it absorbed heavy weapon blows. Unlike phalangites, Roman soldiers trained for individual dueling and maneuvering. If a gap opened in battle, Roman centurions exploited it instantly. If an army attempted a flank, Manipoles rotated effortlessly to face it. In 197 BC, Flamininus led 30,000 Romans into Thessaly. His army included allied Greek contingents and 20 Numidian war elephants. King Philip V commanded 26,000 battle-ready Macedonians. 16,000 of Philip's troops were elite, Sarissa-wielding Phalangites. Both armies moved into Thessaly, seeking a decisive pitched battle. Neither general possessed exact intelligence on the enemy position. The rugged landscape of northern Greece would dictate the terms. Cynoscephalae, a mountain range known as the Dog's Heads, loomed ahead. Its sharp ridges and rocky valleys were ill-suited for phalanx warfare. Here, the fate of the ancient Mediterranean world would be decided. Heavy morning mists settled over the hills on the day of battle. Scouts from both armies moved cautiously through the white haze. The tension before the storm reached its peak. Suddenly, horse hooves thundered in the mist. The scouting units collided on the crest of the ridge. The Battle of Cynoscephalae had begun. On the morning of the battle, dense fog cloaked the hills. Neither commander intended to initiate a general engagement that day. Flamininus sent out scouting detachments of cavalry and light infantry. Simultaneously, Philip dispatched elite Macedonian scouts over the mountain ridge. In the blinding fog, the advanced units unexpectedly collided on the summit. Sharp skirmishing erupted as both sides fought for the high ground. Macedonian light troops pushed the initial Roman scouts back down the slope. Flamininus immediately reinforced his scouts with 500 horsemen. The tide turned, driving the Macedonians back toward the ridge summit. Philip received urgent messages that his scouts were being overwhelmed. Realizing he could not abandon his men, Philip ordered his army forward. He took command of his right-wing phalanx and marched up. Reaching the summit, Philip observed the Roman left wing below him. He ordered his phalangites to double their rank depth to 32. Lowering their 18-foot sarissas, the Macedonian right wing charged downhill. The sheer physical weight of the descending phalanx was catastrophic. 16 ranks of iron spear points smashed into the Roman left wing. Hastati and Principes struggled desperately to find a way inside spear range. Roman shields splintered under the relentless pressure of multiple sarissas. Slowly but steadily, the Roman left wing was pushed down the slope. Philip believed victory was assured and pressed his advantage with shouts. However, on the left wing of the Macedonian army, disaster brewed. The left wing, commanded by Nicanor, was hopelessly delayed on steep trails. As they reached the ridge, soldiers were still marching in column formation. They had not locked shields, nor lowered their heavy Sarissa pikes. Flamininus spotted the fatal gap in the Macedonian line. He rode to his right wing and ordered an immediate counterattack. Flamininus unleashed his 20 Numidian war elephants into the disorganized left wing. The massive armored beasts trampled through the unformed Macedonian ranks. Panic erupted as phalangites scattered, unable to set their long pikes. Roman manipoles charged behind the elephants, cutting down fleeing troops. Within minutes, the entire Macedonian left wing collapsed in complete rout. Flamininus had secured victory on his right, but his left was failing. The critical turning point of the battle was about to unfold. An unscripted tactical masterstroke would alter military history forever. As the Macedonian left fled, an unnamed Roman tribune made history. Observing Philip's victorious right wing pushing the Roman left down slope, the tribune acted on his own initiative without waiting for orders. He detached 20 manipoles, approximately 2,000 heavily armed legionaries. Instead of pursuing the fleeing enemy, he wheeled his men around. The tribune led his force directly into the rear of Philip's winning phalanx. The Macedonian right wing had no idea an enemy force approached behind them. Their entire attention was focused on pushing the Roman left downhill. Their 18-foot sarissas were locked, rigidly pointing straight ahead. It was physically impossible to rotate a locked phalanx 16 ranks deep. The Roman manipoles slammed into the completely exposed rear of the phalanx. Drawing their sharp gladius short swords, legionaries closed to arm's length. They pushed past the useless long spear shafts of the rear ranks. The gladius was devastating in close quarters butcher's work. Romans stabbed into unprotected backs, necks, and sides of phalangites. Trapped between Roman shields in front and Roman swords in the rear, the Macedonian phalanx shattered into complete helpless panic. Phalangites raised their sarissas upright as a universal sign of surrender. Ignorant of Greek custom, the Roman legionaries continued their lethal work. Realizing surrender was ignored, Macedonians threw down their heavy weapons and ran. 8,000 Macedonian soldiers were slaughtered on the slopes of Cynoscephalae. 5,000 were captured, including senior commanders and royal nobles. Roman losses were remarkably light, totaling under 700 legionaries. King Philip V escaped with a handful of horsemen back to Macedon. He was forced to accept humiliating peace terms dictated by Rome. Philip surrendered his fleet, paid massive war indemnities, and withdrew from Greece. Flamininus proclaimed the freedom of the Greek city-states at the Isthmian Games. Yet, in reality, Greece had simply exchanged one master for another. The Battle of Cynoscephalae proved the decisive superiority of the Roman legion. This was the day Rome crushed the unbeatable Macedonian Phalanx,